And this is the effect of the main menu that we are going to create. And this is a part of the action RPG project provided by Unreal Engine. So if you want to follow this tutorial, you will have to download it from the marketplace, and link will be in the description below. Again, fireherefromus.com. I mean, I said that only once. I'm going to preview what we are going to create in this video one more time, and then we're going to jump right into it. Now that we saw the effect that we are going to create, I am in the Action RPG project, and you can download this project by going over here on the marketplace in Unreal Engine. I will put the link in the description below. If I don't forget, please remind me in the comment below. It's free. Just click on download button, and you can see here supported engine versions from 4.2 to 4.24. You get the point. Just download it and open it, and you will have to wait a moment or two, so you can pause the video because it will take a while for it to download and open. But anyways, now what I'm going to do is go over here in the YouTube tutorial folder that I have created inside of the maps folder. This is not a requirement, but I just want to put everything together over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, and we are going to create a new level, and I'm going to call this one my tutorial, or tutorial main menu underscore level, or map, or however you want to call it. I'm simply going to double click this bad boy and open it over here in our, well, new window. And as you can see, we don't have anything. So what we are going to do is we are going to go over here and search for the classes that we are going to import. So the first one is the camera. So I'm going to type here camera. We have the camera actor. I'm simply going to drag the camera actor and put him inside of the level. Now for the camera actor over here, when I select it in the world outliner, let me just search here in the details for the transform location and so on and so forth. I'm going to set the location for X, Y, and Z to be 0. So 0 for all locations. As you can see, this is what we have. And that's all there is to it when it comes to our camera. Next, what I'm going to do over here in the class is I'm going to search for the directional light, and I'm going to place it inside of our game. And I'm also going to change the location. So for the X, it is going to be 75. For the Y, 330. And for the Z, 225. The rotation can stay like this, negative 46. And everything else can stay the same, except over here, the intensity, which is the maximum illumination from the light, blah, blah, blah. Basically, this is the intensity of the light of our directional light. I'm going to set that at 30, which is a higher intensity. So I'm going to save that. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to go over here and click on content. And here, now when we click on the content, let me just find this over here, bit or 64, zoom it, I think. Yeah, here it is. Zoom it. And this is basically my drawing tool. So this is what I did. So over here, when you click on the content, next over here on the search, we are going to type fire never ending. This is what we want. And I'm going to put this fire that never ends. And we are going to reposition this bad boy. So for the X, it's going to be 257. For the Y, it's going to be negative 28, and for the Z, it's going to be negative 260. Now, what I'm also going to do is rotate it. As you can see, the camera is looking over here, not over here or this way, because this is rotated, as you can see. Well, you can see that. Anyways, I'm going to rotate this negative, or actually just 90 degrees, not negative, but 90 degrees on the Z axis. And that's all there is to it. Let me just go over here. The custom tile dilation, scales, delta time in particle system. Basically, I am going to pay attention how the fire looks like now. So now when I change this from 1 to 0.5, you see how the fire, I don't know how to explain this, but you can see the effect, the difference between when it's 1, it's always on, but when it's 0.5, you know, it's like a real fire. So you see the effect that we have over here. The next thing that we are going to do is we are going to add a plane. And in order to do that, let's go over here again in modes and then search classes. So from here, I'm going to filter for plane, and I'm going to put a plane over here. Now, don't get confused. This is not an airplane. We're not going to travel anywhere. This is a simple plane or a field. And what I'm going to do with this plane is for the X position, I'm going to say 305. Y is 0, Z is 15. For the X rotation is going to be 90 and the Z rotation is going to be 90. And also the scale, 10 for the X, 5 for the Y, and 1.25 for the Z axis. What I'm also going to do is over here for the materials, while you have the plane selected in the world outliner, for the materials, click on this loop, or however this is called. Actually, no, over here on the drop down list, excuse me. So click on the drop down list, and we're going to filter for UI intro BG02. So now we have our background as well. So there you go. You see, these are the effects. We are slowly starting to create our background. I am also going to filter for the point light over here for the classes. So I'm going to say point light, and I'm going to put the point light. And as you can see, point light, pay attention to this over here. This is the point light. You see, when I move this, it's a light that's pointing in one direction. What I'm going to do for the X position, I'm going to say 250, Y is 0, and Z is going to be negative 150. For the rotation, X is going to be 90, and I'm not going to touch other position or scale related stuff. But I am going to go here for the intensity, and I'm going to set that to 50 to pump up the intensity. I'm also going to set this attention or attenuation, however this is pronounced, radius, and I'm going to change that to 600. And you can see what is going on without me having the need to explain. You see, when I change the radius, is basically the radius where the light is affecting, the lighting area, basically. The source radius, I'm going to set that at 50. And for the source length, I'm going to say that at 750. And you can see the effects. If I change it, you see the length, it's gonna, be wider when we change this. So you can play with these settings and you can see on your own everything that is changed when we, change the values over here. Also for the light color, I'm going to click over here on the color palette, you see, and you can do whatever you want to do. You see over here, you can go and, select the color, but over here for the hex linear, I'm going to type FF9, so FF9, and next F00, FF, and I'm going to hit OK, so this is the color that we want, and so far so good. You see this point light is giving basically a background light for the fire. It's like the fire is providing that background lighting that is happening usually, when you have a fire. So yeah, anyways, moving forward, next I am going to go back over here in the content, and here in the search content we are going to type char M, so char M shadow, and this is what we want, this bad boy over here, this SM char M shadow, whatever, you see the name. So what we're going to do with this bad boy, we're going to set its X position to 300, Y is 0, Z is 0 as well. For the rotation, I am going to set that to 89 to 89, or actually 90, 90. So 90 degrees on the Z and on the X for the rotation. The X scale is going to be 19.5. And you can see it's providing a shadow. You see this over here? It is providing a shadow for us. So this is what we are doing. The Y scale, we're going to set that at 11. And I'll immediately, you see how we have the shadow. Now I'm going to move it backwards and forwards, and we'll see that in a second. And for the Z, it's going to be 16.25. So look at this. And if I, move it like this, you see we have the shadow. You can move it forward and backward. You get the point. So what we did over here is that we are simply providing a shadow to so we are providing the shadow on the background. Now, one thing that I want to fix right now before we continue is if I hit the play button, you see, this is how we see our game. What I want to do is make our camera over here the main viewport, or we will see the game or this scene from the camera. In order to do that, let me just go back over here in the maps and the folder that I've created. What we need to do is we need to right click, and first I'm going to go here, user interface, and create a widget blueprint. And I'm going to call this one main or tutorial. So tutorial underscore main menu. and I'm going to call it BP. Next, what I'm going to do is right click over here and go and create a blueprint class, and this one is going to inherit from game mode. So this is the one, game mode, and you right click as you saw, create a class, go over here, all classes, and search for game mode. And when you select the game mode, so let me select it and click on select. So now I'm going to call this one tutorial underscore game mode underscore UI base, or simply like this. And I'm also going to add actually BP at the end, UI game mode tutorial UI underscore BP. So what we need to do over here, I'm going to dock this blueprint in the event graph, and going back over here, deleting this, compile and save that. We need to go here in the project settings. And if you don't have the project settings, it's under edit and project settings. And when you have the project settings open, you need to click on the maps and modes. And over here, selected game mode, you see this one, we have the BP. So this right here, BP game mode is the default one. We don't want that one. We want the one that we have just created, which is the tutorial game mode UI. So tutorial game mode UI, or whatever name you give it. So whatever name you give it. So, but basically we gave it a name, tutorial game mode UI. You select that one, which is really important. And now we need to search for this main camera inside of our scene that we're currently in. But in order to do that, we need to select the camera over here from the world outliner. Next, we are going to go over here at the bottom, and under the actor field, you see over here we have the actor. You will see this right here. Let me just remove the what was written. You see this like a arrow pointing down. When you click on that, you will see here tags. And under tags, you can click on the plus button over here because it's an array of elements. We can add multiple tags. We can click on the plus button, and over here, I'm going to change that tag to main camera like this and save the current. Why is this important? Well, now when we go over here, when the event begin play starts, what we are going to do, we are going to create a widget. And a widget is basically this over here. This is a widget where we are going to create our UI, but that will come after this. But I'm going to do it right now. In order to put the widget in the scene, we need to create the widget. So here we're going to create the widget, and the name of my widget is tutorial. So tutorial main menu BP. This is the widget that I want to create. Next, in order to make that widget visible in our game, we need to say here add to viewport like this. And we need to plug the return value over here, you see, and it will be added to the viewport, which means we will be able to see this widget. Now, after that, we are going to say over here, get all actors with a tag. And the tag that I have created is the main camera, which is this tag over here. You see this one right over here for our camera that we have created. You can just copy paste it because it's really important that the names match up over here and over here. If they don't match up, this will not work. So now that we have that tag, what we are going to do is we are going to go here in a for each loop and filter through every element in this array, but we only have one because we only have one camera tagged with the main camera. What we are going to do over here from the loop body, I'm going to cast to camera actor. Why to camera actor? Because if we go over here and select the camera, you see it's a camera actor. If you see over here a type, it's a camera actor. So if the cast succeeded, and who are we casting? The array element, which is the camera that we have inside over here. We are casting that to the main camera. If the cast succeeds, we are going to get the player controller. Get the player controller, and from the player controller, I'm going to set the view target with blend, which basically it's going to set the view on the camera that we specify, or the new view target. Who is the new view target? It's the camera actor. So save, compile and save that. So now if I go back over here and hit the play button, you see now we see the game from the camera. If I were to go back and remove this over here, break the link so that it's not executed, and if I go back like this and hit the play button, you see this is how we now see our game. So going back again over here, plugging this in, the effect of this over here, so the effect of us creating the widget blueprint, we will see now when we start creating the widget. It is added in the game. When we go over here and hit the play button, it is added inside the game, but since it doesn't have anything over here, it's not visible. You see, that's the reason why. And now when we start adding things, we will see that, so don't worry about that. And I will come back to it and explain this. But over here, you see we got the tag, or actors in the scene who have this tag, or in the map, in the level, however you want to call it, with the main camera. And then we use the for each loop to loop through it, and we get only one element because we only have one camera. And then we set the view target with blend, or basically this means set now that we see the game through our camera. So if I hit the play button now, and even if I go over here, you see like this, and if I hit the play button now, we see that we see the game through our camera. Okay, let's get into the juicy stuff right now. So we're going to go over here in our widget that we have created, tutorial main menu BP, and now we're going to start adding our UI components. So over here we have the canvas panel, and the canvas panel, as you can see, is this green thing that contains everything that we are going to put inside. And what I'm going to start with is over here in the palette. As you can see in the search, I'm going to filter for the scale box. And I'm going to add the scale box over here as a child of our canvas panel. Now, what the hell is a scale box, teacher? I don't know what this is. Calm down. You see, scale box, you see, allows you to place content with a desired size and have it scaled to meet the constraints placed on this box allotted area. So this is all what we are doing with the scale box. Basically, it allows our elements to scale based on the properties we add over here. So what we are going to do over here, when we select the scale box in the details tab over here in the slot, as you can see, we're going to change some values. So over here for our minimum for the X, we're going to say 0.5, and for the Y, I'm going to leave it at 0. For the maximum, I'm going to say 0.5 for the X and 1 for the Y, as you can see. Here, I am going to say position X is going to be 0, offset top is 0, size X is going to be 900, and our offset bottom is going to be 0. And also over here, the alignment X is going to be 0.5, which is going to set it, as you can see, over here. You see, it's going to set it right over here in the middle. And now we're going to place our UI elements right inside. So now that we have our scale box, the next UI item that I want is a vertical box. Over here, I'm going to say vertical box, and I'm going to place it as a child of the UI scale box. And in the vertical box, we are simply going to add elements that are going to be aligned vertically. So they are going to be aligned like this. So over here, over here, over here, like this, instead of being aligned like this and this and this. You see, that's it. That is the difference. Now, inside of our vertical box, we are going to add another canvas panel. So over here, I'm going to search for canvas panel and add it as a child of the vertical box. Now, this canvas panel, I'm going to click on it. You can see over here to rename it. And the name is going to be game. So game title, what is this? Game title holder. And inside of our game title holder, we are going to add, well, the game title and, well, the game title. So the first thing that I'm going to do is get a text, and I'm going to add one text over here, and I'm going to add another text over here. So the first text is going to be our game text. So game text action. And the next one is going to be game text sample, like this. So for the action, what we are going to do, of course, we're going to change the font and everything, but first things first, over here we have the position X, which is going to be 564. We have the position Y, which is going to be 68. We also have the size X, which is going to be 100, and size Y, which is going to be not 300, but 30, excuse me for this one. Now over here for our text, or for the font, we are going to change that 2. Let me just click on here. We want this one sin or whatever. You see this Sinzel. And over here also, this is going to say action. And for our font, I'm also going to set the size to 28. So the font size is going to be 28. And another thing that I'm going to do for our text is go down here at the bottom. Let me just find it over here. It's at the transform. Let me just find it. Where is the transform? Here it is. So for the transform over here, I am going to set the Y to 15 like this. And basically that's that. When it comes to the text, let me just see how we're going to align it. So yeah, we're going to align it here at the middle. So this is what we want to do with our text. Don't worry if our text is right here. We will also add our game logo and yada yada yada. So that will change when we add our game logo. When I say that will change, I mean the position. You see over here, this position and this position. So don't worry about that. So let me just go back over here, and this text block is going to be sample. And we're also going to add over here our Sinzel, and over here I am going to change the font size. Let me just check that. I believe font size, we are going to set it at 28 as well. And let me just go over here, and for the transform, we are also going to set it at 15. You see this transform or translation for the Y, we're going to set that bad boy at 15. But over here at the top, for our position X, we are going to say 560. For the position Y, 348. And basically, I'm not going to touch anything else. And I'm also going to click here, size to content for both of these. This one as well. There you go. Compile and save that. Now again, this is still not placed correctly. And the reason for that is because now we are going to add our image logo. And what the hell is our image logo? Well, let me just go over here and filter for the image. And I'm going to add this image as a child of this game title. And for the image, I'm going to call it game logo. And over here for the brush, you see, when you click on this brush drop down list under appearance, what you can do is over here for the image, you can filter for the image name. And we want UI title logo, and here it is. This is what we want. And of course, it's still small, so we need to resize it. What I'm going to do for the size X, it's going to be 1024. And the size Y is going to be 512. So now you can see that our action and sample are placed correctly. So there you go. And they are placed correctly. This is because of our vertical holder, as you can see over here. That's why they are placed now correctly, since we also change. You can play with these settings over here. You see, this is what you can do. You can change the translation. We set it at 15, and also for our action, you can also play with the position over here. You see? So based on where you place it, yada, 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 you can see what is or what are the outcomes of that. So that's up to you if you want to, learn more. But anyways, moving forward, what I'm also going to do now is filter here for the vertical box. And this vertical box is going to be a child of this vertical box. And this vertical box over here is actually going to be our button. So I'm going to call it button box holder. And this is where we are going to place our buttons. And in order to place the button, we need to, filter here for the button, and we need to add it as a child of this, we need to add it as a child of the box holder. Now, when it comes to our button, but before that as well, when it comes to our holder of the button, over here for the padding, I'm going to change a few settings. So over here, the padding left is going to be 200. Our padding top is going to be 64. For the right is going to be 200, and for the bottom is going to be 64. Horizontal alignment, I'm going to leave it over here, horizontally align fill, but over here for the vertical alignment, I'm going to place it vertically align bottom. See, vertically align bottom. Compile and save that. And this is basically what we need to do for these settings. Now, when it comes to the button itself, We are not going to touch the alignment. So for the button, we are not going to touch that alignment. Instead, everything is going to be, you know, as is. Also over here for the game title, we are not going to touch anything, but we are going to set over here the horizontal alignment to horizontally align center. And for the vertical alignment, vertically align at the top. So what are we going to do with our button? Well, with the button over here, let me select it. First things first, I'm going to change it over here to start game button. This is going to be the name of that button. Let me just compile and save this over here. And I'm going to leave everything over here for the alignment. But what I'm going to do for the style of the button, let me just go over here. Style, we have the normal, we have the, let me just, style, image size over here. I'm going to not do this. Let me just go back over here for the search. I am going to search for the UI button, and I'm going to call this one top, or search for the name top. So there you go. So here we have our style normal is going to be top. Let me just compile and save this. And first things first, let me just find quickly just one thing. So we have the normal, we have the hovered over here. This is what I was searching. I could not find it. So we have the normal, hovered, and pressed. For all of these, we are going to search for the same button. So it is going to be UI button top. Here it is. And also go over here for the pressed. Let me just find it over here. It is going to be UI button top and select it. Basically, what this over here is, normal is how this button is going to look like when we, when it's normal, when we don't press it, when we don't do anything with it. Also over here for the tint color, I'm going to change the hex linear to FFFF. And now we're going to say 7BF. And let me just, actually, I had to put FF. So 4 Fs, 7BF. And now I think everything's going to be okay. I think I missed something over here. I think it's 5 Fs. FFFF, 7BF. Yeah, now there you go. So it's 5 Fs. Sorry, this is the hex color. I cannot memorize everything because, I'm not a wizard, whatever. So what we are going to do over here is set this hex color and click OK, which is going to change the color of the button. Let me just select it. And did I do this for the normal color? I think I did. And over here, I need to move it just a little bit like this. It can be like this. Yeah. Because now you see it's a little bit yellowish and I can click on OK. The size of the button, and let me just see where it is. The size is going to be 512 by 128. So I'm going to leave it as is, like that. For the pressed one, let me just go over here. Hovered is also going to stay the same. So for the hovered, I'm not going to change anything. And I am going to set the margin just over here to 0.1 for all of these. So over here, margin, I'm also going to say 0.1. And last but not least, over here, I'm also going to set the margin to 0.1. But I'm also over here going to change the pressed size to 256. This is for the, actually 128. This is for the pressed, yeah. 256. There you go. Compile and save that. So this is when it comes to the values and the size of the button. Next, what we are going to do is filter here for the text. And I'm going to take the text and put it here under the game button. And this is going to be our start game text. It's not important how you're going to name this, but yeah, I'm just going to name it for the sake of it, So what we are going to do for our text is select it, and first let's go over here to the padding. Now we're not going to leave this padding as is. We're going to set 64 for the top, for the left, or actually left 64, top 22, right 64, and 24 for the bottom. And there you go. So now we have a clean button or clean text. This one is going to be start game, not gay and greater than sign. Over here for the font, I'm going to set this Sindel font. I'm also going to set this to bold, and I am going to change the font size to, so bold, and over here 48. And there you go. So compile and save that. Now if you try to copy and paste it, so Control C, Control V, it's going to say can't paste component not enough space, yada yada yada. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it, and you can right click on it. Actually, not on the text, excuse me, but on the button. You can right click on it. You can duplicate it by using Control W. I believe on Mac is Command D. But over here, Control W, you see now I have duplicated it. And now we have our option button. And over here, I'm going to simply say option button. And over here, also the name is going to be option text. And also inside of the text, it's going to be option. So over here, option, or options, excuse me. And last but not least, we're going to have the quit button. So quit game button over here for the text. I'm going to change the name to quit text. And let me just go over here, change it to quit. And voila, let me just compile and save this bad boy. So there you go. We have all the buttons. We have our UI aligned. Let me just test it out. So compile and save that. And if I go now over here in our main menu, if I hit the play button, we see it. Everything is over here. You see, if I hover over, it changes the color. If I remove it, you see, that is the difference. So when you hover over, basically your cursor is over that UI element. So your mouse cursor is over that UI element, it changes the color because we set that in the options. So we set that in the options. You saw that, you can go through it and look that yourself. I don't have to do that. But let me just go back again, and if I hit the play button, you see that we are loading our widget. Why? Well, because over here, and I said I'm going to come back, and this is why I'm testing. So over here, when we call this create widget, passing over here the widget that we want to create and adding it to the viewport, it is going to make this main menu visible. So this is now visible because of that. If I were to not do this, if I, just do it like this, and let's say I do this over here, and I simply get all the actors right away, and I don't call this bad boy over here, compile and save that, we are going to have the camera looking at the screen where it's supposed to be, but we're not loading the main menu. And again, the reason for that is because this is how we are loading it. So we need to call over here, plug in, compile and save. So we need to call create widget and pass the widget that we want to create. When we do that, then it is going to create all of this, place it in our game, and we will be able to see that bad boy. And we saw that in action. So let's get into the animation, and over here what we need to do inside of our widget, and here in the designer mode, over here we have the animations. You can see we have this timeline, which is the animation timeline. This is the animation. I'm going to simply click on the plus button over here, and this one is going to be our title animation. And now when we select it, we can, well, do stuff inside of the title animation. First things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to 375, I believe is the length of the animation. Yes, it is. So let me just find this over here. So it goes to 375. So I'm going to change, you see what I'm moving? This right here, this red line representing the timeline over here. So the animation is going to be 3.75 seconds. From 0, of course. So make sure that this one over here starts at 0. And I don't want this one. So you see over here, you can safely, or you can simply move this timeline and you can, well, see where it is. Or over here, you can set it. You see this one is at 0. And now you can set it 3.75 and it can go at 3.75. So what is the first thing that we want to animate? The first thing we want to animate, and click on the drop down list for the game title and select the game logo. So now when you have it selected, you see over here, when you have it selected, which is really important, you first need to have it selected. You can click on the plus button over here for the track. And let me just draw that. So select it over here and then click on the plus button, and from the drop down list, now you can, select the game logo, which is what we want to track. When you click on it, it is in the timeline. So now that means we will be able to manipulate it. And what can we manipulate? Well, you see this little plus button over here where it says track. When you click on that one, now you can select which properties over here you want to manipulate. The properties are color and opacity, and click on the plus button again, and we want the transform. So what's gonna happen inside of our opacity is that first we are going to go at 1. So here we have 1 second. I'm going to set the alpha, and you're simply going to, you see over here A, which is RGB A, red, green, blue, alpha. For the alpha, we're going to click on the value over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that value to be equal to 0. So now it is not transparent anymore. And let me just move this over here to 0, because what's important also to do, you see now that we set this alpha, you see this green or this yellowish line over here. We need to drag it all the way over here from 0. You see, we need to drag it all the way from 0. So over here at 1, we set the alpha to be equal to 0. Now, don't worry about that. We're also going to select the scale. And for the scale, I'm also going to set that at 3 for X, and for the Y, 3 as well. And for both of these, again, you see the blue line over here now, this right here on the timeline. Again, we need to drag it and we need to move it over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over here, and at approximately 1.5, you see 1.5 over here is where I'm going to change, and these values are set for some reason. Well, I'm simply going to select these values and delete them. So these keyframes that we had, I just deleted them. So only here we have the keyframes, as you can see, where we set the value to 0, and over here the scale is set to 3. So now at 1.5, we're going to set the alpha back at 1. And we're going to set the scale back at 1. And over here, we're also going to set the scale back at 1. So you see now what we have? This is the animation. You see how we have the logo being animated inside from the large scale, and also from the opacity from 0 going up to 1. There you go. What is the next step? Well, the next step is that we are going to have our texts. So we need to select our action text, and over here we can now fold these. You see, we can fold these. Select the text over here, click on track and game action text. Also select the game text sample, track, game text sample. There you go. For the action, track, and what do we want to track? Well, we want to track the color and opacity. So track the color and opacity for our text. And we also want to track the scale. So again, click on track over here and transform. And let me just, what am I doing over here? So again, we need to go on 1. And over here, I'm going to delete these, all of these. So what I'm going to do for our opacity, again, go on 1 for the game action text. Over here for the alpha, we're going to set that to 0. And again, take all of this, and let me just take it and drag it all the way over here. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to set the scale as well. So over here for the scale, I'm going to set the scale to be at 3. And again, scale is set at 3. And I'm going to move this over here, but remove this shear, whatever this was. And again, we need to go at 1.5. And over here, we're going to set the alpha back at 1. And over here, the scale is 1. And over here, the scale is 1. So now we have, you see, now we have also our text, action, and our logo. We're going to do the exact same thing for our sample over here, or our sample text. So over here, we're going to track the color and opacity. And also we're going to track the transform. So let me just go over here. And again, I need to delete, I don't know why is it adding these keyframes. I'm not sure, but anyways, just delete them. So alpha, when we are at 1, alpha is at 0. Scale is at 3 for X and the Y. And now when we go at 1.5, we're going to set alpha back at 1. We're also going to set the scales back at 1. And also I'm going to take this over here and move it all the way over here, all the way over here. And basically I'm going to select this and move it all the way over here as well. Game text action, color and opacity, move it over here. We have the scale as well, move it all the way through the whole timeline. And there you go. So let me just move this from here, and let me just preview it quickly, but compile and save it first. And when I want to preview it, I'm going to click on the play button, which is over here. This is the play button. I'm going to click on it, and you will see now, you say that, I mean, you're not blind, you can see it, of course. I have the tendency to, you know, say a couple of times, can you see it, can you see it? Of course you can. You're not blind. So what is the next step for us to do? Well, the next step is to add an audio track. And in order to do that, we're simply going to click on track over here, and we are going to add an audio track. Now, what we are going to do for this track is, I'm going to click over here, where is my, so I'm going to go at 120 over here, and I'm going to click on audio, and we are going to select over here UI selection 1. Here it is. This is the first audio that I want to add. The next audio is going to be a little bit earlier, so at 1.15, so not 20 but 1.15, I'm going to add another audio track, and for that other audio track we are going to take the sword swing 1. So what I'm going to do over here, click on plus, sword swing, and this is the one that we want. So we have sword swing 1. But for this audio track, for the sword swing, it is gonna last from 1.15, and you can already hear it. I'm going to lower my volume. We will hear it, the final result, we will see that. But I'm going to go up to 2.15. Like this, and I am going to, and yeah, this is exactly what we want. So it goes up to 2.15, and there you go. So these are the audios. Now we are also going to do another thing, which is our box holder for the buttons. So let me just compile and save this. So now I'm going to add the button box holder, and for it I am going to track, and let me just go back here at 0, I am going to track the transform only. Now I am also going to remove all these keyframes first, and again remove the keyframe. What we are going to do, we are going to go at 250, so over here 250 is where we are going to go, and we are going to change the translation. So the translation at that point is going to be at 600, so you can see it's going to be at 600, and then we are going to go at 3 seconds, and then we're going to change the translation back to 0. So what we have over here is this. You see now it goes, there you go, up to 0. And let me just compile and save that, because the final step for us is to add the last audio. And the last audio is going to be at 235. So we're going to start at 235 over here, and I'm going to track and add an audio track over here. And we are going to have 2 tracks in this one audio. So for the first track, I'm going to click here audio, and we are going to filter for hammer, and I'm going to use hammer swing Q. This is the one that I want, and this one is going to start at 235, but it's going to end at 275. So I'm going to take it and move it over here, and you saw what I'm taking. You see, when you zoom in on these, you see you can take this part of it and you can move it. So you can move it like this. For example, you can move it over here, you see? So you see what I'm doing? So again, taking it from here, and then you can, well, you saw what I did. So I'm going to change it back over here, because now what I'm going to do is move it at 285 and add another audio track, and this audio track is going to be our UI select, but we have UI select 2, and this one is, well, going to last till the end, to 375. So let me just go over here, 3.75, I believe this is enough, and basically, well, this is it. So this is our animation and everything. Let me just compile and save this. And if I try to play it right now, let me just increase my volume just a little bit. I'm going to compile and save it, and I'm going to shut up now. There you go. So this is our animation, and you saw how we did it over here, simply manipulating these, and you can play with the opacity, you can play with other properties, whatever you want to do, you can play with those. So yeah, that's everything there is to it. The last step that is left for us to do is go over here in the graph, and we want this event construct. So this is the one that we want. So now we have our title animation over here. So what we can do is we can get it, which is automatically created as a variable, because over here we have created it. So over here it's automatically created as a variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say play animation, And from there, what I'm going to do is I am going to plug this in over here. So in animation, start time and everything, I'm not going to touch anything over here. So I'm not going to touch anything, and I'm going to simply compile and save that. So you see play animation, target is widget in self, in animation, start time is 0, nums to play it's only 1, forward, playback speed is 1, there you go. Next, what we are going to do is call the delay function. And we are going to delay for 3 seconds. And after that, we are going to call play sound 2D, which is going to play the background music, which is going to be Ice Boss Battle 1. And I'm going to compile and save that. So basically, that's all there is to it. And now I can go over here and we can see this in action. So when I hit the play button, I'm also going to shut up because we're going to hear everything now. There you go. So we have our animation. Again, it is playing, it is animating, our main menu coming in, and then we also hear the background music. Let me just play that one more time. And there you go. So in your game, you would add functionality to these buttons and so on and so forth. You know how that goes. Anyways, fire here from awesometuts.com. I have a few links in the description below if you want to check them out, if you want to learn more about Unreal Engine game development, how to create main menus, UI HUD for enemy AI players and whatnot. You can click the link below. And until then, fire from awesometuts.com. I will see you guys in the next video.